Good evening and welcome to episode 5 of Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook here and Matt Bates. Jeff Whitener's still out sick and hoping he's feeling better here down the road here. Hopefully we'll get him back this week. But Matt, we've had a real good week of some interesting football. So let's go through our week 5 results real quick here.
Yeah, looking at the scores, this week you could definitely see now as some of these teams are starting to enter into conference play, we don't have as much disparity as we had last week, where it just seemed it was either feast or famine.
Right.
You've got a lot of scores now that at least are relatively a little more competitive than what they were. But let's kick off with the Eureka Oakville game that we had done. This was interesting because you had Eureka, taking care of business against a school that was a class lower than them, but competitive nonetheless. I mean, for them to go up with Kevin Emanuel, and now he's third in the league in the area in points with 98 with 16 TDs. In that Oakville game, 38 rushes, 277 yards, 5 TDs, and now has 1,155 yards on the season. And I think that was, here's what I would like to say is kudos to us for being able to be out there to cover the first kid to get to and over 1,000 yards this year. I think that's a feather in our cap.
That was cool,
and was glad that Eureka and their staff out there was accommodating to us to be able to do that. And not to get lost in that game was the performance by Ethan Venable, who's now fifth in the area in scoring with 82 points. I mean, he had 13 carries, 56 yards. I mean, the team in and of itself only had 129 yards rushing.
Right.
And they kicked off the scoring with that long TD pass to Vetlick right off. But either way, I mean, even the score being a 25-point differential, when you see the powerhouse, what is Kevin Emanuel and that Eureka offense, I think they hung in there and they gave him a good swing as best as I think they could deliver. And Coach Genge and his crew, I think, should be commended for their performance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got interviews with both coaches here coming up, and the cool thing about it was, Coach Genge was taking a look at where they were at halftime. It was 21-19. It was like, hey, you're saying there's a chance, and that's always, if you're in striking distance within a field goal, you feel real good about yourself. Now, second half it got a whole lot tougher, but they stuck with it, and they they put up a lot of yardage even in the second half. They just weren't able to convert at the end in the red zone a couple of times, but. You do give kudos to Coach Genge and Oakville. I mean, because Eureka, they are a powerhouse. There's no doubt about it. I mean, you put them up.
And this was one of the few games, Ray, that we've covered where both teams, if you were down by 2, both teams could kick a field goal at the drop of a hat. They had enough.
Yeah.
These kids had enough boot, more than enough power. I mean, because you saw. The kicker for Eureka. I mean, every kick was going in and out through the end zone, and when Oakville was starting, every possession at the 20-yard line.
Right.
So I mean, a lot of the games that we do, and you see some of these lower classes, even just like Festus DeSoto, whenever we were doing that game, every kickoff was either like a pooch, some sort of makeshift onside kick where your teams are starting at the 45 midfield. That I think you saw a byproduct of starting at the 20 and making a team go theoretically about as long as they can go, on an opening kickoff. I mean, an 80-yard, every possession. I mean, that really tightens up the nuts on your offense and defensive schemes.
Absolutely. I mean, you saw that second half especially, Eureka just took care of business. And, again, going back to what you talked about, I mean, we've never seen a situation where we've had 2 really good kickers and that was a factor in the game too, so that was pretty cool. But second half, obviously Eureka takes care of business, and they get the Kevin Emanuel train going, and 5 touchdowns, 200 and some odd yards. I mean, the kid was a beast. So kudos to
Well,
Eureka.
you know what? And let's not get lost on the fact too that the 38 carries
Right.
and that offensive line that they have. I mean, everybody on that offensive line is like 6'2", 235, 250 pounds. On the defensive side of the ball for Oakville, I mean, you're getting that pounding 38 times over the
Right.
course of a game. That makes for a long day at the office on the
Yep.
defensive side of the ball. And,
Absolutely.
a few of those kids were going both ways, unlike Emmanuel, who doesn't see virtually any time on defense.
Right.
And so, yeah, but I mean, it was a great win by Eureka, essentially taking care of business. But once again, kudos to Oakville for hanging there as long as they could.
Hey, we're here with Coach Mike Genge from the Oakville Tigers. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Awesome, awesome. Well, we got a little taste of Oakville Tiger football this past week, and didn't quite turn out like you probably wanted it, but we'll talk a little bit about it. The experience has been amazing, and take us through the game.
Yeah, I mean, we knew Eureka was going to be tough. I mean, they have a stellar running game. Their program is one of the top programs in the area, and for us to come out and compete with them and be in a 2-point ball game at half, we were pretty excited. We've been working hard and we've been playing well. I kind of felt like we made a couple key mistakes that allowed them to get some easy touchdowns, and we might have had a little bit of a different ball game. I think they drove a total of like 23 yards for 2 of their touchdowns, with a fumble snap from us and then a blocked punt, or I should say a tackled punt. So, those are things that we as a young program kind of learning how to win. We still need to work through. We still need to navigate through. Eureka's tough. I mean, they came out that second half. They put that 18-play drive together. I think we got the ball back with like 4 minutes and 30 seconds left in the third quarter. And I was extremely proud of our kids. There were a couple times in the game where I felt like we started to wane, what I call back to the old Oakville, where we just kind of give up. And we called them in, and one of the things that we've developed in this offseason is a really strong leadership group. And I kind of stole it from Coach Eckley down at Jackson. And I just kept leaning on him. I kept saying, hey, we can't quit. We can't quit. We can't quit. We got down 21-7 at one point and fought all the way back to 21-19. So that's been a big thing for us. I think each and every week we're figuring out that we can compete with anybody. And that's huge, because in the last couple of years, there's been games that I felt like we could compete with the teams, but the kids weren't there yet. Right. And now they're getting there. We lost a close one to Ladue. We battled with Eureka, 2 historically good public school programs here in the city. And so, getting off of that game, I tip my cap to them.
Right.
And I told Jake, I said, we model a lot of stuff after you guys. So we're excited to get going in this next week and try to get back on the winning track.
Absolutely. And on the positive side, the Venable brothers, they were pretty amazing in that game. Maybe elaborate a little bit on them and maybe some other players for your team.
Well, I don't have brothers. I just have Ethan. Ethan's just one.
Okay.
No, Ethan's one kid, but he plays on both sides.
Oh, so I thought they were brothers. It's the same guy. How about that?
He seems like 2. He does. Ethan Venable's a special kid.
Yeah.
He runs the ball hard. And then he flips around and plays defense. We platoon. So he really is about only the one true kid that kind of plays both ways for us. And he's a dude. But he had a heck of a game. And I'm blessed to have him. I thought Damian Moore played really well in the backfield carrying the ball. We threw the ball well at times.
Yeah.
We did some things. Obviously we want to get going, but I can't say anything without our offensive line. Our offensive line battles, and then on the flip side, our defensive line, I felt like played a really good game. We held the kid from Eureka 3 yards under his weekly average, which was still 5 yards a carry,
Sure.
but he had to carry it 38 times to do it.
Hmm.
And so those groups are really strong for us right now. And I feel like if we're going to make a run to get where we want to get to, those are the two groups we're going to lean on for that success.
Absolutely. This is your third season here at Oakville, and we've known you from the Jefferson County area, coming up from Jefferson County. What has it been like for the 3 years here at Oakville?
It's been good. When I came into COVID year, it was crazy. We had football camp with no footballs.
Oh wow.
We practiced for 9 weeks before we got to play a game. Trying to keep kids focused and motivated when you're trying to turn a program around for 9 weeks, not knowing if you're going to play. It was tough. Our season that year actually ended on a Tuesday at noon.
Wow.
We were supposed to play Webster Groves. We got a call at noon that they had a COVID case at that point in time, and I
Mm.
had to tell our kids our season was over.
Wow.
So, but it has been a challenge, but a great challenge because our kids have bought in. This year our word was compete. We told our kids, you're going to have to compete for your spot. We're going to have 100+ kids.
Wow.
Nobody's spot is guaranteed.
Right.
You're going to have to work. It's going to go to the kids that have earned it. It's going to go to the kids that have worked their tail off in the off season. And some of our kids learn the hard way.
Right.
But moving forward, for us, I think we're back where we need to be. We have 105 kids in the program. We field the freshman JV varsity team. Right now, our program's sitting 10-3-1 as a program. And so we're really happy. We're happy with the progress. We still got a lot of work to do, but I feel good because like our junior program, we have about 100 kids in our junior Tiger program on 4 teams. They're all running our stuff. They had a success. I mean, of 4 teams, 3 of them won today. So they're running our stuff. They're successful. They're buying in. I can't wait for the future. I feel very blessed. A lot of people are like, "What?" When I took the job, they're like, "What the heck? And why?" And I go, "It's really my dream job."
Yeah.
I always, I was in the area, and I'm like, well, "How does the school not win?" They have 1,800 students. How do you not win with 1,800 students? So,
Right.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I love it, and I feel very blessed.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, we appreciate the time, and I know you guys have got Northwest this week. Good luck to you this week, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate your coverage, guys. It's great talking to you guys.
Thanks. That's Coach Mike Genge from the Oakville Tigers. Hey, we're here with double duty. We've got Coach Jake Sumner here with the Eureka Wildcats, along with Kevin Emanuel, our Player of the Week. Gentlemen, how you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. We're going to start with Coach Jake Sumner here real quick. Pretty good win there over Oakville. First half, things kind of seemed a little close, and then second half you made some adjustments. Take us through the game that maybe some things that you guys made adjustments on that you felt was the key to the victory.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to tip your hat to that Oakville team. I mean, they, Mike has done a great job over there, kind of building that program back up, and those kids, they fought hard. They played a tough football game, and you saw that in the first half, and even continued all the way in the second half. But as far as the game went, had some moments there early on. Kind of had some things that we needed to clean up, and didn't quite play to the standard we wanted and expected. And that was kind of the message at halftime: come back out, clean up the details, and just basically execute to the level that we need to, and things should fall into place. And our guys did a great job of that. And defense buttoned down, didn't give up another point in the second half, and then our offense kind of took off. This guy over here, I mean, pretty special football player, and just kind of takes over games, and that's kind of been our MO all year. So just really proud of our guys and the way that they go about their business.
Hey, let's talk about Mr. Manuel. 38 rushes, 227 yards, only averaging 6 yards a carry. If I make sure I got this right, 5 touchdowns last Friday.
Yes, sir.
5 touchdowns. I mean, that's a good day in the office. That's it for anybody. That's all I got to say about that. But, you are talking about a special kid there. If he can tote the rock 38 times. I know you've got some more guys that toted the rock as well there. Jace Peterson, your quarterback there, didn't have to throw the ball around a lot, but, when he did, he was halfway efficient, threw for a touchdown, and got the job done. Take us through a couple of those plays there, Coach.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm going to tip my hat to this guy next to me. You talk about a special football player carrying the ball 38 times in a game, and this guy's just done it through 5 weeks. I mean, you look at his numbers; they're unbelievable. Touchdown scoring, he's got a 6-yard average, but that sometimes doesn't reflect what he's doing in between the whistles. So, just a huge part of it. And like you said in there, there's a great supporting cast around him. Jace has done a good job managing the game, and he's pretty effective on the ground himself, along with Allen Brown, who's another great weapon for us on the outside receiver. And then the big old tight end and Trenton Groff that we have is, 3 great weapons that we try to, 4 weapons, that we try to kind of move the ball around with. And, these guys, just from a team standpoint, can't brag on Kevin enough. He carried the ball 30-something times, and all he wants to do is continue to push the credit to his teammates. And hopefully, we'll keep on that road. So, it's a testament to the leadership of those guys on offense, especially
Absolutely, Kevin. Absolutely. We'll push over here to Kevin here real quick. Couple questions for you, Kevin. This season you're having a breakout season here, your senior year, and I know that it takes a heck of a lot of preparation for that. What does your preparation look like throughout the week?
Just ton of recovery. Sunday I go cryotherapy and that's great. I love it. Compression and ice cold nitrogen. It's pretty cold, but it's worth it when it comes Monday. Ready for the week.
The success this season, what do you attribute it to, as far as the success is going on? I mean, you had a heck of a game here against Oakville, but you guys are 5-0 right now. What do you attribute the success this season so far?
I'm gonna have to give it to like the brotherhood we have, and then for me, my success is really from the O line. Really, the dogs are from all of them. The dogs, all 5 of them, and it's just amazing to have those type of guys, and they love each other, and I love them, and it's great. I couldn't ask for a better one.
Absolutely, absolutely. Give us a shout out, some shout outs to folks, maybe players, parents, coaches that you want to, just say hey to. Go ahead.
My cousin really got me into this football thing, Erickson, and then trying to flip Jamel, and then I have to go Coach Sumner for keeping me on track all the time and getting on my butt, and then Coach G, man, he's just amazing in the weight room, making sure I'm right there in this, while I'm at school lifting weights. So.
Absolutely, don't forget Coach Sumner.
Of course.
Yeah, right. There you go. Last question for you, Coach. You've got Pattonville next week. What do you expect to happen next week?
Yeah, our schedule, I think, is up there. If you look at all the teams that we play, is one of the best in the entire St. Louis area. And traveling to Pattonville is no different next week. They one-loss team, ton of skill on that field. They can move the ball, pretty effectively down the field on offense, and great talent over there. And same for their defense. They got a good, solid defense. It's just going to be another one of those fights that our boys are going to have to show up and battle for 4 quarters. And, Steve does a great job with those guys, and I'm sure they're going to be ready to go over there at Pattonville. So just kind of the same game plan going in. Got to prepare hard, make sure we're a great week of practice, being clean, and then come out on Friday and execute for 48 minutes. So.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate the time catching up with us, and we hope you have a good game this week, and we'll catch up with you down the road.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
That is Coach Jake Sumner from Eureka Wildcats, and our player of the week here, Kevin Emanuel.
I guess we continue with our sleeper season, which is that of the Crystal City Hornets, who go to 5-0 and are now guaranteed a winning season. And I think Coach Dan Fox needs to be commended once again. I mean, as I've said week in and week out, you can only play the teams that are on your schedule and take care of business that way, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Absolutely. I mean, you play who's on the schedule, and for them to be able to kind of march through some things, and some of it's not been amazingly easy, especially this past week, but you know find a way to get things done and find a way to right the ship. One of the things that I'm pointing out, I pointed out last couple of weeks, has been the emergence of Crystal City, even though they're in this independent league, so to speak. When you put yourself in a situation like that to rebuild, that can definitely go both ways. It can go south real quick, and people completely lose. You lose control of the team, or you lose control of your destiny as the team. But Dan Fox has done a really good job, and the administration over there as well, to say, what, we're gonna rebuild this, and we're gonna do it right, and they have.
Yeah, and you look at this last game they just had against Gateway STEM. I mean, 24-22. You had a, they came in at 3-1. They had something to prove, and not to get too far ahead, but while we're on Crystal City, this game they have coming up against Russellville. Not to spoiler alert, but you got two 5-0 teams getting ready to go at it,
Correct.
and there's not many 5-0 teams left in our area. And this Russellville team has only given up 61 points in their 5 games. So you you're going right out of the frying pan and into the fryer with facing Gateway STEM, coming in now facing Russellville. So this isn't like every team on this quote unquote independent schedule is a cream puff by any stretch.
Hey, we're here with Coach Dan Fox from the Crystal City Hornets. Coach, I don't know exactly what you're doing over there in Crystal City. What are you putting in the water? But hey, the 5-0 Hornets, that sure sounds good. So tell us a little bit about the game with Gateway STEM this week.
I mean, it's a Class 4 opponent. They had some big kids up there up front, and they did a good job of leaning up against us. And we're not the biggest team in the world, but kids are resilient. And they found a way to win in the fourth quarter with a drive with about 5 minutes left, and then made a good defensive stance to solidify the lead and give us our 5th win of the season.
Excellent. Let's take a look at you've been in this independent league for a few years now, and starting to see a little bit of the growth, obviously starting to pay off. What's that been like? I know the scheduling's kind of different with some other independent schools. It seems like this year they've been matching up pretty well for you. You've got 5 wins, but take us through that growth process the last 3 years.
Well, the decision to go independent was a lot to do with the fact that we're just not going to have the numbers to build a JV program. We're just not that big of a school, and we wanted to find like teams that were in a similar situation. Kind of an apples to apples situation. So teams that have to require, to play freshmen and not have freshmen going up against necessarily seniors every year, but other freshmen as well, and sophomores. Everybody gets a chance to play here. So, we went independent, and every year we've gotten a little bit better as far as our programs with wins since that. They're believing, and they show up to the weight room religiously and in the summer religiously, and it's not just the football kids. Our volleyball team is 8 or 9-1 right now. We've got most of those girls showing up 3 or 4 days a week, just doing what they have to do. And in the summer times, because they're hungry to win in athletics here. So I'm happy that it came to Crystal City, and I think the kids are being rewarded finally for all the hard work that I told them would happen for them.
Excellent. Well, you've got Russellville on the schedule next week here. What do you know about Russellville?
They run a very similar offense as we do, and they're 5-0 as we are. And I don't think at the beginning of the season or at the end of last year, when everyone saw Russellville versus Crystal City, that you'd be talking about 2 5-0 teams. But here we are, and it's gonna be a fun game. They have a lot of they've got a lot of weapons over there, and it's gonna be a long drive for us. But Coach Rule over there has been a very welcoming coach and very hospitable, and we're excited to get out of town for the night and go hit some guys from not the St. Louis area for once.
Well, there you have it. There you are. Well, thanks so much for being with us, Coach, and catching up with us. And good luck to you next week.
Thank you.
That is Coach Dan Fox from the Crystal City Hornets. Okay, we're back here with Upon a Further Review. Let's take a look at another game here. I want to pick on this game here, the Hillsboro Festus game, 58-21. And Hillsboro, again, the nemesis to the Festus Tigers. We kind of watched this game as we were doing our game, a little bit back and forth and things like that. And it just seems like Hillsboro has always found a way to just spoil Festus's chances at all of trying to beat them every year.
Well, and I mean, unlike Eureka to a point where it's like if you stop Kevin Emanuel, that should probably tie in to stopping the Eureka Ball Club. With Hillsboro, Austin Romine, he sneaks under the radar because he only has 631 yards rushing on the season.
Right.
But you look at Preston Brown, who has 11 carries, 39 carries, 403 yards. So those two combined, give you over 1,000 yards in rushing, to where you're not just a one trick pony per se.
Yeah.
And Preston can also throw the ball as well too. But you look at the last game here against Festus, Romine had 11 carries, 161 yards, 2 TDs, and Preston Brown follows it with 11 carries, 165 yards, 3 TDs. Collectively, 55 rushes for 481 yards. Hillsboro racked up almost 500 yards of rushing against Coach Ofadale's Festus Tiger defense, and that's not even throwing in any passing stats either. Which, after 500 yards of rushing, the passing game then becomes like almost secondary.
Right.
But you still have to account for it. But that's a 1-2 punch that's formidable.
Yeah, they remind you of the Cleveland Browns having the 1-2 punch of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but they've even got more. You've got Jackson Patterson a part of that as well. And so, until somebody figures out how to stop the Hillsboro run, they're going to continue to do that until they can't. And then they're going to have to come up with a whole new offense. But they've been doing it this way for years, and it's kind of one of those things. Right. Like, hey, we're not varying from this. Stop us. And if you can't, we're sorry. Sorry but not sorry, probably. So,
right. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Let's look at another game.
Yeah, let's touch on the Jefferson Bayless game, because in a sense, 42-6, Bayless has just had a hard time getting off the carpet this year. But, Jefferson took care of business. You had a performance from Sean Ussery, 21 carries, 291 yards, averaging almost 14 yards a pop.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much, almost doubled his stats for the year, 64 carries, 544 yards, 8 TDs. But, if you want to talk about like a coming out performance to throw his name in the hat for relevance in the area, I would definitely say that was a performance that would stand out in a game that, again, where you were just basically needing to take care of business, and you did.
Yeah.
And you had a nice performance that stood out in that
game. Absolutely.
So,
the thing that we kind of pointed out in the last couple of games that we saw out of them was just the frustration of just being able to get out of that first and second gear. And definitely they got out of that gear last week with Bayless, so scoring 42 points. Ussery, he had a heck of a game at Herculaneum. the kid definitely has some major potential to have a big game, and it was great to see him, finally get that good game. Going into that game, obviously I know the frustration, and I know that the disappointment, because Jefferson is a team that they're a top two, top three team in the county, and they don't know any different. They've been like that for the last 4 or 5 years. So I mean, it's kind of a machine, a well-oiled machine, but this year they've kind of had to take a notch back, but finding a way to build upon a couple of tough games was a huge game for them to be able to do that.
Oh, exactly. Especially coming off that prize fight they had against Herculaneum, where I mean it was just Osiri and Maloney just
Right.
running roughshod over each other, and it was just basically who's going to swing the hardest sledgehammer, who's going to break first, and
Right.
so for him to break out, I mean 21 carries, almost 300 yards. I mean that's a heck of a day.
Yep. Let's take a look at another game here. What you got there?
Another one not to go unnoticed, and it kind of flies under the radar, is the Windsor DeSoto game. Windsor defeating DeSoto 27-6. In this game here, Windsor's Jordan Foster, 28 carries, 265 yards, averaging almost 9.5 yards a pop. And the one thing that I don't want to get lost in this is the young man is 7th in the area in rushing attempts, 99
Wow.
carries, 676 yards. And when you look at all these teams around us in our area, all of the running backs you have, and we'll touch on him in just a second, but your Cole Rubles, your Kevin Emanuels, your Ethan Venables. Jordan Foster from Windsor is 7th in the area in rushing attempts with 99 yards. This kid is getting the rock and is also flying under the radar that, week after week, this kid's taking pop after pop, hit after hit, and is able to have a bust out performance against a DeSoto team who I know they're trying to get off the mat, and but Jordan Foster, I mean this ball is rolling for Windsor, and they are now more than going to have their work cut out for them as their conference play is going to be stepping up full fold, and we'll get into that in just a second because they've got a huge matchup at home coming up. But let's touch on the week that is that of Cole Rubles for Seckman, who's now 2nd in the area in rushing behind Kevin Emanuel, as he has 985 yard total rushing. Last week against Fox, I mean, it's kind of wash, rinse, repeat with this guy. 31 carries, 231 yards, 5 TDs. That was his most carries to date in a game, so not certain if he lasted longer than the first half, but it seems like every game that he's a part of, he's usually out by halftime. And so, I mean, if they could ever leave him in for a full game, and not to really run the score up, but it would be impressive. Like what? I mean, I guess you would almost double his totals if he was ever in for full games.
Yeah. Yeah. He's. I think he stayed in more than half the game this week. This past week here at Fox. The big thing for me, they got off the schneid big time with an away game at Fox. They have not beaten Fox in forever, it seems like, at Fox. And so, I think that was definitely the big motivational thing for them this week, and they got the job done.
That they did, yes.
Let's go one more game.
Let's touch on Herky and Pius.
Okay.
Herky taking one on the chin, 13-6. This was a game. Herky rushing. It was kind of smoke and mirrors because Barr and Maloney, 16 carries, 75 yards, but then you had Jackson Deering, 11 carries, minus 26. So there seems to be like some reverses or something that got blown out of whack because they finished the night with a collective 27 carries for only 49 yards. But you had Maloney and Barr, I mean, basically shut down, and then this negative 26 for Deering on 11 carries is kind of alarming. That this just uh, a game like this, when you read and look at it on paper, just seems to be one of these games where stuff was sputtering and spurting, and really, you couldn't get anything going. Because when you look over at the St. Pius side, I mean, they had 30 rushes for a combined 94 yards, and outside of one long pass play for a 35-yard TD pass, I mean, essentially that's your biggest score of the game, and so everything else must have just been played in between the 30s again, and was just knockout, drag out football to see who would bend and not break.
Right, right.
Because I mean, in this game,
yeah.
Deering was only 22 of 48, 165 yards, a TD, and 2 interceptions. So not the best day in the office for him, but it looked like Herky, in a rarity, he heaving the ball a number of times around the yard trying to get something, but apparently couldn't muster much of anything.
Yeah, Pius likes to make you play their game, and they've done that for years. And once you get lured into that, I mean, the game's over. And it doesn't matter if it's a close game like this, 13-6. The game plan more than likely, let's stop Deering and hold Maloney and Barr to as minimal amount of points as possible, minimal amount of yards as possible, and that's exactly what happened. For Herculaneum, turn the page. You turn the page right now. I actually took a look at this and yesterday, and I think the important thing to look at is moving forward. They have the ability to run the rest of the table the rest of the season, and that's a very real look at things, which puts them in a position for their district to probably go in as the number 2 seed first week, and they'll probably be playing DeBerg round 1 for their particular class. I think it's Class 3, District 3, if I remember right. But I took a look at that and I was like, there is a big potential for them to, be up there in the top 3 at least, and be in really good shape for a home game for week 1 of districts. So turn the page. Obviously it was a tough game, and even the coaches, parents, we were taking a look at some of the parents that said, hey, it was such a tough game, but you give them the E for effort and you move on. So there you have it.
And you look at, like, they're on paper they're going to be coming in next week to this week to Grandview with a 2-game losing streak, but you lose by 3 points to St. Vincent and you lose by a touchdown to St. Pius. So just a couple tweaks here and there, and and you're talking about a team that's 5-0, and to your point about their schedule, taking a peek at that, we'll be doing the Herky Grandview game this week, and then they're at home against Bayless, which again, everybody puts the pads on just the same, but again, when we've talked about the struggles Bayless is having, that should be a win. They go to Perryville, who's having about the same issues as what Bayless is. But then you got the one game here at the end that you really can't stub your toe on, and that's the game at Crystal City that I think we've kind of highlighted and circled a little bit on for both teams. That I think that's going to be. I don't think not so much a benchmark for Crystal City. I mean, I'm almost divided on that. That I know Herky's again got. I'm not going to say some easy games, but business they should take care of, and don't look past that Crystal City game to, like, who are we going to play in the first round of the playoffs? Because right. I can tell you right now, Crystal City's got that one highlighted as well too, as business they're going to need to take care of, and so I think that could be a sleeper game on our last week coverage.
Yeah, you talk about Crystal City. I'll talk about Perryville as well. Right now, Perryville's starting to play some good football right now, putting up a lot of points. And so I mean, in a perfect world, you don't look past any game than the game that you've got going on the week that you're up against that particular team. So, I get it, but like I said, I was looking at that, and I was just like, there is a huge potential for this to run the table if they can get back on the winning side, and they start this week with Grandview, and Grandview's been struggling a little bit, but it takes 1 week to overlook a team, and you're looking at yourself like, why did we overlook that team? You know what I mean?
And before we get too far away from Herculaneum, let's talk about Lucas Barr real quick, who is 17th in scoring in the area. But I guess the thing that might slip through and get unnoticed is he's first in the area in receiving yards with 617 yards.
Wow.
And this is having performances where he 1 week was 2 receptions, 16 yards, and another 6 for 33.
Wow.
And somehow is able to lead the area in receiving yards. And you have Jackson Deering, who's 8th in the area in passing with 967 yards.
Right.
So again, I think we even said that in the Jefferson game, which they didn't account for Maloney, but I think if you can stop Deering, it should and could kind of trickle into being able then to stop Lucas Barr as well. But you can see in some of the games where, if you let the cat out of the bag, where you're talking 7 receptions, 223 yards, that's what can get done to you. Dynamite in a small package if you don't account for your responsibilities and your schematics on the defensive side of things.
Let's take a look at Week 6 matchups here real quick, and we're going to do this a little differently. We're just going to kind of mention the game, and then Matt, you're going to give a little tidbit. I'll give a little tidbit, hopefully, and we'll just go to the next one. So, obviously, our live stream STL Friday Night Blitz game of the week here, Grandview at Herculaneum.
Again, you got Grandview coming in 2-3, Herky 3-2. That smoke and mirrors 2-game losing streak for Herculaneum should be a chance for Coach Boss and him to get off the schneid.
Yeah, we'll have we'll have Scott Lotta with us, who's a graduate from Grandview, with us, the two Herky guys. So should be an interesting game. And my thoughts, though, is I think Herculaneum gets back on the winning track. And wrong game here. We'll go with this one here. They get back on track and start their winning ways again. Roosevelt at DeBerg. Anything you want to say about that one?
Well, you got Roosevelt coming in. The Rough Riders are 1-4. DeBerg's 0-5. And really, right now, if you're Coach Masters up there with the Cavaliers, let's just try to get some points on the board. And as they say each week, just try to make productive play and build on those.
Right.
Rough Riders should come in, take that one. But again, DeBerg is just looking just be competitive and put points on the board.
Right. North County and Festus. This is going to be an interesting game here because North County have already lost to Hillsboro, but two, I think, pretty evenly matched teams here. Should be a real good game over at Festus High School.
Festus is going to have to figure out how to stop Job Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if I had 3 words for Festus, stop Job Smith. If you can do that, then I think Coach O can get the team to 3-3. But again, on paper, I see North County going to 5-1.
There you go. Bold predictions there. St. Pius at Cuba. St. Pius is probably going to have a good one there. They're going to have a good one there, I think.
This is interesting. You have 4-1 St. Pius, who's Class 1. Going to Cuba, who's Class 2. Yes, they're 0-5. But they lost 55-8 to a Class 5 Springfield Central team. They lost 35-8 to Jefferson R7, who I think by all accounts, I think they're Class 3. And then their last game was against Windsor, who's Class 4. So by my math, Cuba has and is playing a Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4, and Class 5 teams. That is crazy.
That's brutal.
So, I mean, it's one of these smoke and mirror things that when you talk about Cuba being 0-5,
Right.
They're virtually playing every class that's available except Class 6. That is crazy.
Right. Let's move on here. Northwest at Oakville, and that one's going to be I think, a pretty easy one for Oakville. Northwest, their struggles continue, unfortunately, and being a huge school. But we've got a good look at Oakville last week at how they handled Eureka. I think they come out with a win this week.
Yeah, Northwest 0-5, even though they're Class 6 and they're going to play down a class going to Oakville Class 5 who's 3-2. You're going to figure out how to stop Ethan Venable, but I see Oakville going to 3-3 on the year.
Right. Park Hills Central at Valley Catholic. We really monitored the Park Hills Central game. They were playing St. Gen last week, and they absolutely took care of business. I mean, limited them to only 3 points, and it was a very impressive win. Now, can they do the same, or even make a game out of the Valley Catholic game? That remains to be seen. But we'll take a look, and I really hope they do give them a good game.
After the way Park Hills destroyed St. Gen, which I don't think anybody saw that coming, and to now have Park Hills 5-0 coming into Valley 5-0, another game of two undefeated teams in the area. That's one I've got a couple exclamation points by. That is going to be a very good ball game.
Mm-hmm. Hillsboro at Windsor. Got to have to say Hillsboro definitely has the advantage on that particular game.
Coach Funston's 2-game winning streak is going to be in jeopardy.
Well, you're just going to keep it like that?
That's all I can say. Hillsboro's
Okay.
going to the Owl Nest and should be 6-0.
Yeah, okay. Fox at Poplar Bluff. Don't know a whole lot about Poplar Bluff. Fox has been kind of up and down. That could go either way. Poplar Bluff's always had pretty strong football teams, so I'd probably put a little bit of, favor on Poplar Bluff.
Road trip for Coach Tinker's Warriors to head down to Poplar Bluff. I don't think that's the way to get back off the Schneid, but after their game against Seckman, maybe getting away from the home crowd might be a good thing. But time will tell. But there's something to be said about almost a road trip that takes you 3/4 of the way across down through the state down to Poplar Bluff, that you get whipped down there. That is going to be a long bus ride home.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Moving on here, Crystal City, Russellville. Obviously, we talked about this a little bit. 2 5-0 teams. Thoughts?
Again, Russellville's only given up 61 points this year in 5 games. So this is going to be another tough test for Coach Fox, coming right off that Gateway STEM game. So that's another one I've got just a couple little exclamation points by, because that game can fly under the radar. But I think it's going to be a tough test for the Hornets.
DeSoto at Fredericktown. 2 evenly matched teams there as well. You give that a toss up. You flip a coin on that particular game, right?
I would say that right now for Coach Woodland, that this would be a game to maybe highlight that that this could be a game that they could sneak a win out on the road. Would be a nice feather in their cap if they could go down to Fredericktown and get a win on the road.
Potosi at St. Genevieve. Obviously, St. Genevieve are going to want to get back on the winning side there. Potosi, they played a pretty tough game against Valley, but obviously it's Valley, so it's it's kind of a very much of an uphill battle. But St. Gen take away last week's game, and I think that probably favors them a little bit. That particular matchup.
I think this is just going to be the classic. How does St. Gen respond after getting the snot knocked out of them last week?
Right. Perryville Jefferson. This could be a very interesting game as well. Perryville and Jefferson both starting to find their way and put points on the board. So could be either a really high scoring game, or B, a very low scoring game, depending on the schemes.
You hit the nail on the head, because when if you let your guard down, you saw what Sean Ussery can do with 21 carries, 291. So if Coach Utley puts Sean to work, this week, and if they don't have a way to stop him, you can see what can get done at almost 14 yards a pop.
Right. Parkway South at Seckman. Obviously, the Cole Rubel show will be in effect at home this week, and we'll take a look and see when he actually comes out of the game.
This is another game where on paper, you have 2 4-1 teams, but you have a Parkway South Class 5 team going on the road to Seckman, who's Class 6.
Right.
I think this is just going to be a classic game of, when somebody can try to stop Cole Rubel and that train that keeps moving with him, I think that's really the only way I think you could summarize Parkway South's best chance at defense would be, how do we stop Cole Rubel, and then we go from there.
Right. Final game here, Bayless and St. Vincent. Obviously, Bayless still struggling here. St. Vincent still playing pretty decent ball. Give the favor to St. Vincent on that, obviously.
Yeah, this is going to be like a Saturday 11 a.m. kickoff, and you got 1-4 Bayless trying to put the pieces together, and then going on the road to St. Vincent, who probably is not happy after their loss to Valley. So I think Bayless going on the road to St. Vincent, I would say I see St. Vincent going to 5-1.
There you go. There's our Week 6 matchups. Obviously, our game this week that we will be covering will be Grandview and Herculaneum. It'll be homecoming night for Herculaneum as well. So we hope you can tune in. That game will be 6:45 pregame for us here. And Matt and I and Scott Lotto will be with us. And we hope to see you there. And we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks so much for watching. Upon further review, for Matt Bates and myself, Ray Halbrook, have a great evening.